Hi, my name is Cameron Coffey, and I am the Customer Marketing Manager here at Claravine. Today, I'm interviewing Tim Scales at Bristol Myers Squibb about how he implemented Claravine across all his teams globally.
My name is Tim Scales. I am a consultant at BMS. I lead our digital media operations, and specifically, I am our enterprise-wide point of contact for our Claravine implementation. I lead all of our media tracking efforts, and I roll up into the campaign and data management team that manages all of our deployments. So I'm in close contact with the email operations managers and the database managers who ultimately dictate the flow of the send of the email. And I ensure that our links are tracked and that we're able to capture not just data, but quality data and be able to contextualize our quantitative web metrics with qualitative metadata. And that's really what's taken our team to new heights.
And so at Bristol Myers Squibb, you guys are focused on like pharmaceuticals and making this more of like a global accessibility and changing that kind of game. Can you kind of just tell me about that and like where you guys are trying to like reach your clients and contacts?
Not only are we developing solutions here in the US, but we're leveraging Claravine abroad, that we've developed custom tools for markets like Germany that allow them not only to track their URLs, but to deep link past their firewalls that are set by GDPR mandate, to shorten their ever-growing links with a Bitly integration, with a QR code integration that develops a QR code for every asset that they track. So not only can they leverage a particular link in an email, but they can with Bitly, with shortened links, and they sure love QR codes in Germany, and we've been able to really leverage an integration with QR Code Monkey that generates a QR code every time, even with customizable QR code images where we can put our logo in the center if we so choose. And yeah, it's really allowed our marketers to reach their target HCPs in the best way possible, in the way that the HCPs most want to be reached. And sometimes that's as simple as just a shortened link. And yeah, Claravine's really been able to sort of open these doors to allow these ex-US marketers to hit their stride and track in new ways.
And then how long have you been working, have your teams been working with us with Claravine?
BMS historically had been tracking their digital assets with manually written UTM parameters, and BMS identified a software solution that could grow with them and provide an answer that was not manually write your tracking parameters. So Tracking First was the software that was identified. I started as the Tracking First administrator, and within my first year, Tracking First rebranded as Claravine as we now know it, and we went through a fundamental overhaul of everything that we were doing. It was the same company, but new platform, new interface, new software, better technology. it took a quantum leap. We've been able to track all of our links seamlessly across all of our digital marketing channels and really hit that ultimate goal of an omni-channel experience, that we're able to track our users across devices, across platforms, and provide the best experience that we can for our HCPs, find them in the right place, in the right time, in the way that they want to be connected with. That's where we find them. That's the omni-channel experience.
I love that. And you mentioned just a second ago about the manual UTMs and creating those. That sounds very difficult and like, yes, manual, but laborious and just hard to track. Can you tell me like what the teams were before they met, before it was Tracking Force, before it was Claravine? How are the teams just managing that process?
That's what I was brought onto the team to help sort of sunset, was that process. And I didn't get a deep glimpse into it because I was brought on to take tracking first and run with it.
Yeah.
But from what I saw, the the tracking was done by concatenate functions in Excel spreadsheets. That these were manually written, and they were often full of errors, and we were constantly solving data related problems because you were manually writing your UTM parameters, and it's just not scalable. There's too many billable hours tied up in that, and the margin for error is too wide. There's no quality control. It's not secured. It's not automated. These are all things that Claravine ultimately brought to the table, that they can standardize a process that was just fragmented at best, and really bring everybody into the fold, working in the same templates, in the same standardization, using the same software. And it's allowed us all to be able to measure each other against ourselves, like to measure one brand against the other, one indication against the other within that specific brand, to really be able to get a full picture of what our data looks like, where we weren't able to do that before we started working with Claravine.
What did success look like to you? And how were you proving kind of that success of Claravine, the solution to your teams?
When we track these assets, that an email, a display ad campaign, search engine marketing keywords, that I think in the early phases, success was measured in time, in speed, that this solution allowed us to cut down on that time tremendously right off the bat. Early win, easy pickings. But that only gets you so far. The quick tool isn't always the right tool. So what does our data look like? Well, now not only are we able to do our tracking of these digital assets quickly, but we're also able to get quality data. Historically, using UTM parameters, if you have 4 UTM parameters, you have 4 pieces of data that you now have to work with. And that's great, but tracking first and Claravine ultimately with the CID tracking parameter opened the door for us to have seemingly infinite values behind every tracking parameter. You only include one parameter in your URL, and you can get as many pieces of metadata as you can think of to capture. And that opened the door so wide for our teams to be able to not just capture what was our campaign name, what channel did this go out, but what brand, what drug are we trying to market? What indication for that drug? Who was this going to? What was the intended audience? What was our target methodology? Why are we doing the things that we're doing? What was our strategic objective? Every campaign should be driven by strategy. Now, these are terms that we're able to add on to our trackable links without adding additional parameters, making our URLs a mile long. They get to stay nice and neat with one parameter, endless data, and it's all good. We're now able to capture as much quantitative data as we were before. Time on site, clicks, visits, conversion rate, great, but we're able to contextualize it now with campaign metadata and truly get a full picture of the campaign that we're running, so that we can get smarter every time and have a more successful, more informed campaign the next time.
What value does the Data Standards Cloud platform bring to you and to your organization?
The value has been immeasurable, the way that we've been able to implement this tool and really expand it to other teams. BMS has acquired another pharmaceutical company, and we brought on a new team with new ways of working, new brands, new data that's not in the same standardization as ours. And now we need to bring all of this into the fold. They had their own tracking solution, which was manually written UTM parameters, but through a tool that it was a multi-million-dollar tool. And their multi-million-dollar tool required us to do double work. We had to process their URLs through their solution, and then that output had to be processed through Claravine. And when you add that level of manual intervention, the margin for error becomes wider and wider. So I immediately identified this as a giant risk to our timelines, that we can't be implementing manually written UTM parameters in 2022. This is just not what we're going to do. I did as much research on this tool as possible that was creating these UTM parameters, and realized that it was essentially just a glorified spreadsheet, and this data wasn't being sent anywhere, and it was not ideal. So Claravine can do all of those things way better, and is a huge value add and a monster savings. So we didn't have to keep paying that like $1.5 million bill for this solution. That Claravine was already providing a solution for us, that I learned everything that they were doing and was able to replicate it all within my Claravine templates, and truly saved the brand over $1 million.
Wow, that's amazing. And
I did it in a month.
Wow. That's actually just like mind blowing, because it's like, for how long were they suffering for you to come in and just be like, what do you know? Like,
I couldn't take it. Knowing that Claravine is as robust of a tool as it is, that yeah, they're making UTMs, but they also need our CIDs. Well, let's just make a template that makes UTMs and CIDs. Boom, problem solved. Like, money saved, time saved, process improved. Let's go. What's the next problem?
Yeah, that's a huge win. That's awesome, Tim.